Hey y'all, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. We are back on Out of the Park Baseball 22 with our Colorado Rockies to continue the 2021 offseason. In the last episode, I asked for your input on which free agents we should kind of look to target with the $78 million we have available to spend. And the YouTube assistant GMs came back in full force from their vacation to start the offseason. We got a lot of comments going through who we should look to sign this offseason. I don't want to waste any time because we got a lot of them. So let's get right into it. I have multiple comments on the screen at once. It just seemed a little easier if I accidentally copied multiple or duplicate comments when I did this. I'm sorry, but hopefully you get the idea. So let's just start right here. Cindergard, Zunino, and Garcia are the first three I would sign. You should look into getting cheap, team-controllable pitchers like Clark Schmidt, Brandon Bielak, Ranger Suarez, JoJo Smith, Brent Honeywell, although he might be a bit more expensive, and Michael King. Mike Zunino might be the best catcher we can get, defensively solid and has some pop as well. In terms of pitching, Cindergard looks good if we can get him for 4 to 5 years. Shortstop market looks good in terms of talent, but I don't know if the money is right. Maybe Lindor? He is durable, you know what you'll get out of him, and the owner asked for a top player. If you're not down with paying him all that money, trade market might be the way to go. Honestly, that badass relief pitcher would be sick, but probably not worth it. I think you should sign Cindergard and Takei to boost the rotation. Make a splash move and bring in Lindor. I like the Zunino and Cindergard additions. I'd either add an elite defensive player to play in right and let Blackman DH, or a good bat to DH and leave Charlie in right. If you think you can be above 500 and compete for a wildcard spot, Cindergard is well worth the money. Catcher, Zunino would be a really nice add for his plus defense and power and cores. Pitcher, Thor would fit well atop that rotation with his ground ball tendency. It could prove to be a savvy add since he'd retain the compensation pick going into next year's draft. You also have Austin Gomber coming back. Syndergaard and Zunino look good. Maybe a guy like VR and trade him at the deadline for a shortstop prospect. Cindergard, lie, cheap pitchers who throw gas, and bats don't matter because it's cores, they'll all hit. Syndergaard for 2 to 3 years and maybe Takai on a similar length deal. Zunino is a decent choice for catcher. Lots of really good shortstops available, but considering you're rebuilding, I wouldn't waste the money on any of the top guys. Hope your Philly save is going better than mine. It's going all right. McCullers on a 3-year deal and Syndergaard on that deal to improve pitching. Maybe consider that Japanese guy, but I've had foreign free agents take time to ramp up and decline quickly or never reach their ceiling in OOTP. Maybe someone like Avisel Garcia for outfield, so he was only asking for about $9 million. Zunino Maldonado would be good for catchers, slightly better hitters than Perez was. Robbie Ray might be an intriguing option for pitching, also like Lance McCullers. Colorado pitchers get beat up, so I wouldn't commit too long to pitching. Maybe a Greinke or Scherzer on a 1-year type deal. As flashy as they are, I wouldn't be looking to sign someone to a long-term expensive contract after you just traded away Story rather than extending him. Build up some depth first. So those are all of the comments from the assistant GMs of the YouTube community. A lot of information to take in. So from what I could tell, the most popular name in most of those comments, I might actually put a counter on the screen if I remember to do that. We'll see. Was Noah Syndergaard. He was the most popular player that was listed. So if we go to starting pitchers and we go to Noah Syndergaard, he is a ground ball pitcher. As I went through in the last episode, he is 29 years old. He'll turn 30 in 2022. He is only looking for a $19 million contract. He is a compensation player, but because we have the number 1 overall pick, we won't lose our first round pick, which would be huge. He should be able to go deep into games, an extremely hard worker, high work ethic. He should have some pretty solid pitches. He might work out well in Colorado. So this was the most popular name that I saw. I saw a couple saying to go after this import, Takayasu Takei, 31 years old, another ground ball pitcher. As I said in the last episode, as a Colorado Rockies GM, I should probably be looking to bring in pitchers that can force ground balls. He is looking for $21 million. I saw an option for Scherzer on a 1-year deal. He might not be the worst guy to take a look at. You can see his ERA was bad last year, but his FIP was only 3.17. He was still a 4.5 win player. 203 strikeouts to 49 walks. The fly ball pitcher tendency would scare me a little bit, but only on a 1-year deal at 37. that might not be the worst option in the world. Robbie Ray was brought up. He's a neutral kind of guy, so it's not like he's fly ball. He sits 92 to 94. He had a solid season in Toronto in 2021. 221 strikeouts to 77 walks. 3.76 ERA, a 3.97 FIP, batters OPS at a 672 clip off of him. So this is another guy. He's looking for $21 million as well. He is also a compensation free agent. McCullers, go through him again, a ground ball pitcher. He's looking for $11.2 million. So this might be a good guy to go after. We wouldn't lose a draft pick. We wouldn't have to pay him a lot. He is only 28 years old. He just turned 28 a month ago. So we'll take a look at how he did. He struck out a lot of guys, but his ERA and his FIP weren't super great, and you kind of would have to assume that going to Coors, maybe it would get worse. He also has low loyalty, low adaptability, and high greed, all three negative personality traits. So that was that. Catcher, the player that I saw the most was, let's go all the way back up, was Mike Zunino. He would only be asking for $4.8 million. Theoretically, he would be a big offensive upgrade over what we trotted out there last year at the position, and he would still give us good defensive ratings behind the plate, a 65 great catcher ability. The arm, I'm not too concerned about that. You can see the last time he played in the major leagues was 2020, and he was not very good offensively, but maybe playing in Coors, he would be doing a little better. So that was the name that we saw a lot, and we saw other names too, but that was that. That is who the YouTube assistant GMs think we should go with. And I can't say that I disagree with a lot of those. I will say Lindor did look appealing. I don't know if it makes sense right now to bring him in. He would be a phenomenal addition, especially in Coors. I think that he would put up MVP type numbers playing half of his games in Colorado. He didn't have the best season in 2021, only a 706 OPS, but he was still close to a 5-win player. I imagine part of that is the defense. If the contract wasn't, I don't know if I could handle paying him for this long. I mean, we could maybe do a 5-year deal, but then that would cause us to probably have to bump up the average annual salary. If we did a 5-year deal, maybe even a 4-year deal and let him hit free agency again when he reaches his early 30s, I wonder if he would maybe like that. So, I mean, it's when a guy like Lindor is on the free agent market, like we're going to circle back, but he's not going to be my main target. So that is that. I also saw another comment. I don't know if I might have forgotten to put it in, but I remember seeing a comment about how maybe don't spend on relief pitchers because you can get them on the waiver wire or other cheap ways. That's a good point. That is a pro tip. I think the guy said that he learned that from PF Holden's channel. That is a good point. You can always find good relief pitchers on the waiver wire. I mean, we did with Jacob Barnes. So, I mean, that's an example right there. So this is a crucial offseason for us. Going 53 and 109. I want to play around 500 baseball next year. So we have to get these free agent signings correct. We have a lot of money to spend. The one positive, I guess, is if we go here to salaries, we will have some money coming off the books next year as well. Because you see Charlie Blackmon, he'll go down from 21 to 10. I mean, if Blackmon doesn't even pick up the player option, then that'd be even more money. But right now, that's $11 million that we get freed up. Scott Oberg has an $8 million team option that I would probably look to decline, and probably just look for somebody cheaper that's also just as good. So we theoretically, and I would like to think the payroll will go up next year too. So we should have money to spend next year too. But with $78 million available this year, I think we should try to make a splash. I don't know how big of a splash we are going to make, but I will cut away here. I'm going to put out some contract offers. I'm going to try to improve the team. I will come back when I have some news to share about the Rockies in free agency. All right, I did want to check in. We're not fully done with the offseason yet, but we have made some moves. So I wanted to come back. Apparently, Peter Angelos has died. Rest in peace. But we have made some moves, and I want to just walk y'all through them. I've made a couple trades. I made a couple signings, and let's get through it. So let's go first to the pitching staff, and you can see that we've made a couple additions. We signed Lance McCullers to a contract. We signed him just to a 2-year deal. If he stinks, we have an easy buyout after this season, but if he's good, he can get a $1.5 million raise. I just like that he wouldn't cost a lot of money, ground ball pitcher, and I think that his stuff might actually play well as a Rockies pitcher. He's only 28, so we'll see how he does. And then we traded for Sonny Gray. This was the big free agent, or not free agent. This was the big offseason pitching acquisition for us. At least it's going to be. And the reason I pivoted to Sonny Gray in the trade market instead of signing Noah Syndergaard is because if we go to the team that Cindergard went to, which is the New York Yankees. Cindergard, this contract, I guess he wanted to take a lesser deal with the Yankees. He was asking me for close to $30 million. I did not want to commit $30 million a year to Noah Syndergaard. At 29 years old, he's going to turn 30 next year. I had offered him a couple reasonable deals, in my opinion. I guess something's available on Netflix for me. Great. I offered him initially $22 million. He was cool with that. And then he came back to me. He said he had better offers. And then I offered him 24, I offered him 25. I even went so far to offer him 27.5. He didn't want that. He came back and said, listen, I'm going to need $29 million a year for 4 years. At that point, it just didn't seem worth it. The bidding war was just a little too much for me. If he wants to take a lesser deal to go to a better team, that's fully realistic. I get that. I'd rather pitch for the Yankees too, as opposed to the Colorado Rockies. I'd need more money to pitch for the Rockies. But from a team building perspective, it did not make sense to just keep going. So I pivoted, and that is how we ended up with Sonny Gray. So if we Colorado Rockies, and then if we go to the pitching staff, Gray. So you can see in the trade, we traded away. It was a really easy package. Jameson Hannah and Ryan Rolison. They just really wanted to get off of Gray. If you take a look at his contract, it's another guy just like McCullers. If he stinks this year, we have an easy buyout. If not, then he gets a little raise. But it just seemed to make sense. This was the best pitcher available on the trading block. That's how I saw that he was available. I looked at the trading block. You can see he's an extreme ground ball pitcher. He is a ground baller. He has pretty decent grades and ratings all up and down the board. He had a rough 2021, a 5.04 ERA, a 4.85 FIP. But I figured that if we weren't going to pay $30 million for Noah Syndergaard, $10 million for Sonny Gray kind of made more sense. So that was one of the trades we made. And the other trade we made, if we go back to the pitching staff, you'll see that Dane Dunning is here. And the reason that we got Dane Dunning is because we made a trade with the Rangers for Joey Gallo. So we got Gallo and Dunning, and in return, we traded away Brenton Doyle, Helcris Olivares, Kyle Datris, Austin Bernard, and Elehuris Montero. Olivares was obviously the biggest difficult piece to move in this deal. I tried to do it without him. The Rangers were not interested in anybody else. So I figured I'd trade the guy who doesn't seem like he'll ever have control. The movement's a little questionable. He's a fly ball pitcher. He is a power pitcher. But as you can see, he did not do very well in AA this season. The FIP is a little better, but I don't see him ever being a positive contributor to the rotation. So that was kind of my reasoning. And in return, we get another guy that was unhappy, that was on the trading block in Joey Gallo, who I think will really pay dividends for us. He's going to be our new everyday right fielder, which will allow us to move Charlie Blackmon in his older age to designated hitter spot. So that'll take some pressure off of him, take some stress off of him. And I think Joey Gallo should be in the conversation to be hitting 50 home runs, playing half of his games at Coors. And I figured while we were with dealing with Texas, we might as well try to get a starting pitcher who's a ground baller, and that was Dane Dunning. Once again, he's making the minimum. If he stinks, it's fine. We can just try it again next year. But the starting pitching market in free agency did not really develop as I thought it would. There were guys going for deals that I wasn't personally comfortable with. Robbie Ray was going for, I think, close to $20 million a year for 4 years. That's what he was asking me for. So I looked at Robbie Ray. That wasn't an option because of the, it's even though we have money to spend, I'm not just going to blow it just because we have it. I want to make sure that I feel comfortable doing the deal. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that for Robbie Ray. I looked at Marcus Stroman. He was looking for too much money, so I pivoted off of Stroman. We talked about Cindergard. Scherzer accepted, I think, $44 million over a couple of years. That did not make much sense for me, especially as a fly ball pitcher. So that's why we decided to go to Sonny Gray and Lance McCullers and Dane Dunning as our rotation additions. If we need that, maybe we could try to trade for somebody at the deadline if we're doing well, but I'd like to think that this rotation should be at least a little better than it was a season ago. Only time will tell. In terms of the offense, I talked about Joey Gallo. We did sign Mike Zunino to a contract to be our starting catcher. I went over him already. He should be solid with the bat, good on the behind the plate. So, and he was cheap. We only got him on a 1-year deal for $3.75 million. So that was kind of worth it to me. Talked about Joey Gallo. We still do need a shortstop. We did sign Leury Garcia. I don't envision him as a starter. I see him more as a super utility kind of guy, like he was with the Chicago White Sox when he started 64 games. I see his expectation as the starting lineup. I'm hoping that'll change, but he's going to get at bats. He'll get at bats at second, shortstop, left field, right field. He'll get a fair share of at bats. He might get a starter's workload without being in the starting lineup. So we did sign Leury Garcia to a cheap deal too, 1 year, 1.5 mil. And in terms of the free agent market right now, if we go to free agents, we did put out an offer to this relief pitcher who seemed really, really good, Geronimo Franzua, because it's never a bad thing to have too many relief pitchers, especially. We offered him a pretty cheap deal. I think it was like a couple of years for $3 million. So that's how we're looking right now. So we still do need a shortstop. Eventually we're going to need rotation additions, but for right now, I'm pretty content with what we've been able to do. So I'll cut out again. And once we kind of figure out the shortstop situation, that's when I'll come back and we'll see what the team's looking like. All right, it is January 18th. I wanted to come back because the Hall of Fame voting results get announced tomorrow. And also another owner died, Ted Lerner. Okay, not a good offseason for owners. But if we go to Hall of Fame voting, I always like to do one of these myself. I think it's just a fun thing to do. So if I had a Hall of Fame ballot for the year 2022, this is what it would look like. Abreu, Bonds, Clemens, Helton, Ramirez, Rodriguez, Rollins, Sheffield, Sosa, Billy Wagner, and we're going to submit that ballot. And that is it. So we'll see who makes it into the Hall of Fame. And here we go. Hall of Fame voting results. Rodriguez, Bonds, and Clemens make it in. Curt Schilling gets dropped off the ballot after 10 years. Sheffield is up to 35.8%. Ortiz gets 62.6% in his first year, so he'll probably make it in at some point. In fact, I think I scrolled over his name accidentally because I probably would have put him on the ballot over some other people. Regardless, Burley, Przinsky, Peavy, Folk, Heron, Vasquez, Howard, Lieberthal, Fielder, Dotel, and Cordero all dropped off the ballot, as did Sammy Sosa. So those are your inductees. Rodriguez gets in on 98.7% of the ballots, which is impressive. So that is that. I wanted to simulate up ahead just a little bit to the start of the preseason, and we don't need Ryan Stanek right now because I'm pretty happy. Oh, no, another owner died. The Padres owner died now, Ron Fowler. So the start of the preseason should be coming up. I think it's at the start of February, maybe the middle of February. Oh, there we go, preseason. So February 1st. I wanted to simulate up here just to see what free agents might still be available. So we did lose Miguel Rojas. Obviously, financial update. He has increased our team's budget. I wish I knew that. I wish he could have done that like earlier in the offseason. So like maybe I could have spent a little more money, but so now, well, I mean, it's good because we have a lot of financial flexibility right now. So before we get to that, the shortstop for 2022 Colorado Rockies is going to be Didi Gregorius. He was also on the trading block. The Phillies were looking to move him. He only has 1 year left on his deal. The Phillies are retaining 35% of that $14.5 million on his contract, and he will be our starting shortstop. He didn't have the best year at the Phillies in 2021, but I'd like to think that's a fluke. I think he'll be fine in 2022 with us. I think he should be able to play a pretty solid defensive shortstop and also give us some pretty good offensive production. So taking a look at the lineup, I do think it is a lot better than it was in 2021. This is probably what I'm thinking for right now, going with Tapia to lead off, followed by Edman, Welker, Gallo, Blackman, Zunino, Gregorius, Valade, and Bader. This could change, especially before the start of the season. Our bench right now, Dom Nunez, Just Fuentes, Thierry Garcia, and Jonathan Daza. I think Garcia will be a big addition to our bench, which I'm happy about. I think that'll help us a lot. And then pitching-wise, Corbin Burns, Sonny Gray, Lance McCullers, Dane Dunning, Yency Almonte is slated to be the starting rotation. I think this is much better than anything we tried it out a season ago. I think especially this top three is intriguing. And then the bullpen, which was actually pretty solid once we made some additions last year. Jordan Hicks, Scott Oberg, Drew Rasmussen, Jairo Diaz, Tommy Doyle, Justin Topa, Jacob Barnes, and Ben Bowden. That is going to be your 26 Colorado Rockies going into 2022, Austin Gomber, as noted in a comment earlier, he will be back in 3 to 4 months. So probably at some point in the summer, we can throw him back out there, see how he looks. Hopefully he'll be okay. But if not, I have no issues just letting him go. It's unfortunate that the injury happened when it did because he was looking okay. But regardless, that relief pitcher is still out there. I'm not going to sign him. I don't think it's worth it. But Justin Verlander is there, his extreme fly ball pitcher. I'm curious to see this, like what he would want, like 9.5 million. I mean, even still, I think that would just be bad. But I mean, there's still some intriguing names out here. I don't think I'm going to sign any of them, but I mean, their demands have certainly gone down. I'd be interested to see shortstop wise. Donovan Solano is still out there. He did not have a great year with the Giants in 2021. He could not keep up what he did in 2020, which is surprising because the ratings look pretty good. But either way, this is your Colorado Rockies team. So from 2021 to now, let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 16, I think. So I think 16 of these guys were not here on opening day in 2021. So we've made quite the change on the roster since the offseason began. And that'll be that. So leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about our 2021 offseason. I don't think I'm going to sign anybody else. I did want to mention, though, I kind of talked about it earlier, $52 million for free agents, $69 million for extensions. Although we didn't really make a big splash this offseason, I'm sorry. We weren't able to get Lindor. Sorry we couldn't get like Cindergard or just anybody big. I tried. It did not seem worth it to me in terms of just building the team up, especially considering the spot that we're in now. We do have financial flexibility for the future. I mean, if we take a look at the salaries, as I said, Blackman's deal, it'll either come all the way off the books or we'll only have to pay him $10 million in 2023. Gallo, he's on a 1-year deal. If we want to re-sign him, we can. We'll have the money. If not, we can let him walk. Sonny Gray and Nice McCullers, those are easy deals to get out of. So we'll have a lot of money in 2023 if we want to spend it. So we do have future financial flexibility, but for right now, I feel like this team should be able to play close to 500 baseball, which would be a big step up after going 53-109, the worst season in franchise history last year. I think that playing close to 500 ball would be a big step up and would give us some momentum going into 2022 offseason and beyond. We have some really solid prospects that I'm excited for. If you take a look at the rankings, we are now 4th with Brandon Clark, Jack Leiter, Drew Romo, and Zach Veen. Zach Veen will probably be up, not this year. Maybe, I don't know. It depends how he does, but I'm not counting on him being up this year. This seems like more of a 2023 kind of option. Drew Romo, a guy that might get some time in September. He has really shot up the prospect rankings. So in just 1 year since taking over this team, we have completely not only helped out the farm system, which was at the bottom when we started, now we're up to number 4, but we've completely remade the lineup, remade the rotation, remade the bullpen. The minor league systems did well last year, the farm team, so hopefully that continues this year. And yeah, that is that. So no video tomorrow. I just have a full schedule in real life tomorrow, so I won't have time to record. So we will be back Thursday with the start of the 2022 season, and we'll see if the moves that I made were good or if they didn't work out. I'm excited to see, and I hope you guys are too. So thank you for watching this episode, and I'll catch you guys again next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.